CSA New Tech Podcast.
Alright, here we go. So, we are here with Mr. Steele today in the Dragon's Nest. We are going to be just asking him a few laid-back questions, a few in-depth questions. I hope you guys really enjoy this one. I will say personally, starting it off on a good note, Mr. Steele is definitely one of my favorite teachers here at CSA New Tech, and definitely one of my favorite teachers of all time that I've ever had. I love his teaching style, and I love the way that he encourages us to do things. So, we'll start off with the most basic but most complex question for you here. What's your favorite color?
What? I'm colorblind. How can you ask a colorblind man his favorite color? I'm kind of red-green. There's certain ones I can't see, so I keep it bright. I love yellow. Okay. Yellow's bright. It's warm. I play disc golf now, and so yellow seems to be one I can find when I throw them in the bushes. So yellow's my favorite color right now.
All right. What is it about, like, deeper tones that, like, does it just mess with your eyes?
Yeah, it's like, like if something's blue, I can see it. Like, that's royal blue.
Right.
But then, say, over here, I don't know what makes purple, red, maybe? And you have a little red. I can see red, but then when you start mixing those colors, it gets confusing. Like, I thought I had a shirt that's tan, and then my wife's like, that's pink. And then, I can't tell. There's some, like, really light gray. It looks the same as pink to me. Like, I can't see just the light red in it. They show up the same. I once had a truck, and I swore it was blue. It looked like looked like aqua blue, And they're like, "No, your green truck." I'm like, "There's nothing. That's blue." And they're like, "It's green." And I'm like, "What? How can you call that thing green? That's blue." So I'm horrible at colors. At nighttime, when say a stoplight is flashing. Those bright lights, I can't tell the difference between red and yellow. So I've got to get right up to it and be like, is it the middle one flashing or the top one? And if it's the top, I got to stop. But, and when I was in Canada in high school, a lot of their street lights are turned sideways.
Oh, really?
So I couldn't tell, like, is it like getting up to the light, is it red or green? Because it just threw me off, like, whether being sideways, I didn't know if it went right to left or left to right. And I just remember being confused a little. So I struggle with colors, so bright yellow sticks out.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Ooh, food. My favorite, this is kind of a candy. I love lots of candy because I no longer drink. I quit drinking a few years ago, 3 years ago now. And so I focus on candy as my, vice or whatever. So sour gummy worms is my jam.
Yeah, I've seen your collection page.
Oh, yes.
You really got that going.
You got to rate the different ones. Speedway actually just changed their sour gummy worms. They're using 7-Eleven gummy worms. I actually took a picture last night. So they've got the new 7-Eleven bag.
Sour neon gummy worms.
Yeah, the sour neon gummy worms. Kroger, you get a 6-ounce bag for $1. That's probably the best deal around, and those are really good, even though it's a generic brand. I like Speedway. Circle K are okay. The ones you get at the Dollar Tree, there's like a few different brands. Yarba are okay. So I love super sour things.
Cool.
Food-wise, I love like Strombolis with jalapenos on them, like a big grinder.
Yeah.
Philly steak and cheese. Food that's not good for me is what I love.
Comfort food.
Comfort food. Yeah, I love wings. I love pizza, hoagies, all kinds of stuff. Or the calzone, all that family of stuffed bread and red sauce. That's what I love. And jalapenos, it's gotta be hot. I love spicy food.
All right. What's your opinion on Alfredo sauce?
Oh, the white stuff. My son loves chicken Alfredo.
Yeah.
Sometimes Alfredo sauce can be just a little bland. So I've got I put a lot of cheese with it, a lot of Parmesan cheese.
Yeah.
and some pepper. I like to get my chicken seasoned if it's going to go in the chicken fettuccine. So I like it kind of spicy or a little seasoning to the chicken so it kicks up. If I make homemade Alfredo sauce, sometimes I need extra salt to get it to the right. So Alfredo, if it's done really well and is really cheesy, I love Alfredo sauce.
Now I know a lot of people add pepper to their Alfredo sauce.
I do. I add black pepper to everything. Yeah, so I get it. Like I said, it can be kind of bland, like a white gravy almost if you don't kick it up with the. So I like to battle, the salty and peppery taste with the cheesy taste and that white creamy, and get a good balance in there.
All right. I think we're going to dive into our first in-depth question.
Oh, jeez.
Obviously, we've had some conflict with Russia these past few weeks. Biden just announced that we were pulling out of Russian trade with their oil. How do you feel about that?
And this whole situation's confusing to me. Just kind of understanding Russia's motivation right now. It just seems so weird in modern times, where we have the internet and we have so much evidence and news that a country can just invade another, so that scares me. It bothers me, especially listening to their leader speak on it. So, but back to your question, I think as the USA, America, has a lot of pull on the world platform. We're a major player, and we've, if Ukraine was a NATO ally, as soon as they stepped into that soil, we would have fought them as if they stepped on American soil. That's how NATO is. That's like our friendship. That's our relations. And they're not NATO. So I think that's kind of why Russia is pushing. They don't want the NATO line to move further east. And so I am very proud of our president for holding Russia accountable, and I want us to put as many sanctions on them as we can. Like, you can't bully another sovereign nation. You can't cross a border and just say, well, years ago it used to be a part of Russia. There's Russian culture in here. We want it back. Especially when Ukraine does not want that. So when a major country or someone is this wrong, we can't directly attack them, but we can make them pay for it as much as we can. So I'm glad we're doing that.
So I see that you bring up making countries pay for their wrong decisions. We've seen for a few years now how China's dictatorship has really ruled the country. Do you think that their decisions on what they do and their ethical reasons to stuff is good enough for us to maybe cut out trade with them at some point?
Oh man, these are heavy questions, and I'm just not knowledgeable enough to make an educated opinion on China. We're in America, so whether we want our news to be biased, or whether it's intentional or not, we're just going to naturally be biased. And so I don't know if we're getting the whole truth on China. Maybe their motivation's something else, and we're just getting told it's this. China's a gargantuan nation with lots of people, and they've been successful in doing their thing for many years. But it is kind of Russia used to be called the Iron Curtain, but there's also kind of a curtain between us and the Chinese culture. And there's all these rumors now that there's Muslim concentration camps in China, that they're kind of doing cultural cleansing and trying to remove certain things. And if that's true, that's horrible. We cannot try to cleanse or rid, or that's trying to make a monoculture where everyone's the same. I think is extremely dangerous, and closing off other people's voices, or not. You hear that in China, a lot of their citizens aren't allowed to speak out against the government. I think any of those things are so wrong. But at what point do we step in and try to punish them or act? My dad is a veteran of the Vietnam War, and because he's a veteran and I never got the stories from him, I kind of dove into, reading about Vietnam, and that led me to reading like a People's History of America. And then, Ken Burns has always done a bunch of documentaries, and there's a Vietnam long form series. And I've always wondered, like, why were we there? And our government says, well, communism was spreading into Vietnam, and it's our job to stop that. And it's like, well, if that's your justification for fighting that war, then I could see that you could use that same justification for China, for Russia, for some countries in the Middle East that don't allow their citizens freedom. At what point do you draw the line at protecting other people from their own government? And I don't know. As I get older, it's harder and harder to make these decisions. So kind of back to NATO right now and Russia. Russia's done something that's overt and on the national stage is attacking someone else. So that is very clear cut. We have to have sanctions against them. They're trying. I don't know, but I think Russia's trying to just reclaim their old territory and keep NATO, that alliance of nations, as far west as they can. Almost over to Germany if they could get that far. And that's not right, but I can see their justification. So we have to fight back. As of now, China kind of does that to Taiwan, and they're kind of doing that to Hong Kong, and we've got to be aware. And I don't know, China. All these countries are also super dangerous. Yeah. Like I don't want to be picking a fight with someone who could team up, and I just wish everyone did what was best at all times. Yeah. But power can corrupt, and we have to have people to keep other countries in check when they get too much power. But I don't know the answers, Gavin. I don't know. It's interesting to me. And so instead of giving an opinion, I know I'm not smart enough to do that. So I just keep looking towards people who are smarter than me and more credible to me than me. And then I read what they have to say and their opinions. So I look for credible articles. I look for credible documentaries, and I just try to watch as much. We have a student who's from the Middle East, a foreign exchange student, not the Middle East, but Eastern Europe. And just talking to them, like, what are your feelings? There are people on the ground. I go to Reddit, and there's Russians and Ukrainian citizens on there, like kind of giving their perspective. And so I go to firsthand stuff. So I try to read as much as I can before spouting off my opinion. Okay. Because I could easily be wrong. The situation could be much more complex than we're being told. So I don't know. I'm scared. It's terrifying. Yeah. I don't want a war.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I recently heard, which I could be wrong on this, but I recently heard that China was actually putting up sanctions against Russia. So you bringing up the fear of those two countries powering together, I don't think we have to worry about that. All right, into our next topic. What's your opinion on clear soda?
Whoa. A weird question. Clear soda. Well, I drink club sodas, now that I mentioned my alcoholism earlier. Not alcoholism, I just decided that lifestyle wasn't for me. But I still like to drink things that are carbonated out of a can. So I moved to club sodas, like LaCroix, and Kroger's got cheap. So it's just water, 0 calories, 0 sugars. Yeah. So I love those clear sodas, just carbonated water. Clear sodas, are we talking about Sprite? Sprite's a little sugary for me. 7-Up's good. 7-Up's, a little less sweet, so I like 7-Up. Gosh, I don't even know what Slice used to be a clear soda. Mm-hmm. A little greenish to it, maybe. I don't know.
So do you think that clear sodas have a more bland taste than something that's colored?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, like the syrup in a Coke is so thick, maybe there's more sugar content to it. Yeah, right. Like clear sodas, yeah, you almost assume that it's going to be less sugary or more bland or something, a little more bite to it. Yeah. But now that I've started drinking club sodas, and there's no sugar in them, and you're carbonated and really bubbly, so you get that bite in your mouth. Yeah. now when I drink a Mountain Dew or something, it's like, Jesus criminy, this is
like
just straight
sweet.
sugar. This is just like, oh my gosh, I can feel my arteries clogging, and so I notice the difference huge now.
Yeah.
I think it's.
All right, we're back from our break.
Had to take my daughter to work real quick. Dad duties.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get on to our next topic. What do you think of the current freshmen?
Oh, wow, that's a weird question. I didn't see that coming. We've been talking about NATO and serious stuff, and now we move to freshmen. I don't teach freshmen, so it's hard for me to memorize their names. Usually if I know their name, it's because they've been acting up in the hall, and it's like, dude, what's your name? Like, you're a squirrel, and I need to know who you is. Gosh, my son's one. My son's a freshman, so I know a few of them, and I know the lifestyle because I raised one. I like the last set of classes that keep continuing to come through are just seem to be so much easier than the ones that I've had in years past. Like, I've had tough groups. I've had. I have students who have been through trauma, and I know some freshmen who have been through trauma, but it's not their identity, and they're not like so angry about it that they're lashing out. Right. We haven't had a fist fight in forever, like screaming, yelling, crying. Like, we just don't have that, and I think it's a testament to just getting good classes of kids coming through. Like, we're attracting great citizens to our program, and just the way we handle it. I think us facilitators do a good job too. So the freshmen I know, I like. My wife teaches here. She teaches biology, so at home I get a lot of, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this one when you get them next year. Like, and
they're gonna be great.
They're gonna be great, and she loves everybody. But she really likes this freshman class. Says there's some real stars in there. I like kids who have interesting hobbies. Like you're always into stuff and do stuff. And I know there's a few freshmen who cook. And a few freshmen who hunt, there's one who's working on his Eagle Scout right now, and he's going to do a cat hotel and a cat trapping cats and spay and neutering wild cats. And I just like kids who have something in their life, a hobby or a sport or an interest, a kid who's super into music or super into art. And there seems to be more of that around. Interesting characters walking around the freshman class.
So, I know last podcast, I don't know if you listened to it.
I haven't yet. Where are they posted? Where can I find these?
You can find them on the CSA New Tech Media website.
Nice. Awesome.
So, last podcast we were talking about...
Was that Mrs. Buckler?
It was Buckler.
Okay, I saw her being interviewed. I just haven't heard it yet.
We were talking about the freshmen as well, and she had stated how she didn't really know about some of the incidents that had happened previously in the year with the freshmen. I'll just put it straightforward, the poop situation.
Whoa. Okay. I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, so there was a situation where there was basically kids that were smearing poop all over the bathroom stalls.
Are you serious? Here?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't hear about it. We've not had an adult conversation about facilitators talking about it.
I remember it clearly.
Okay.
It was pretty early in the year, but it was at the same time that we were talking about how there was like 8 kids sitting in one booth and stuff, and the freshmen were going wild, That was one of the big things is the poop.
Well, to me, when I hear that, I get a lot that sends off ringing bells for trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, that tells me that someone's been through something traumatic in their life. For you to put your hand in waste, your own or someone else's, and then smear it, that takes a lot. I mean, like normal conscience doesn't do that. So even to be funny, for that to be in your frame of work, I think you've had to experience something, and so I worry about that kid, who's doing it, whether they think it's funny. So if they think that's funny, then that means that behavior is within their scope of allowance for themselves to do, and that's alarming. Yeah. Like, you're going to play with poop out of the toilet and then smear it on the walls. Like, that's a cry for help. That's, like, bad.
Yeah.
And so I would my reaction to that is not anger, or not to think it's funny, or not to think that it's meant to be funny. I think that's a cry for help, and that makes me want to be more alert to the kids and what they're going through and their experiences, and make sure they have an outlet, for whatever trauma is allowing them to do something that weird. I don't know. That's my reaction to it.
All right. We'll go ahead and wrap up.
What other instances? We can edit this out. I know we're close to your 5-minute mark here. What other instances were you talking about with other freshmen that, like, this year? You said things that happened, like the poop situation.
The poop situation. A lot of kids have been, the vape situation.
Yes.
Has gotten a lot worse.
It has, and I don't know where kids are getting vapes. Like, I don't know. What am I talking about? I guess when I was young, I could get a cigarette if I was 15 or 16. Right. But when my age, cigarette smoke stuck to you. Like, if a kid smoked a cigarette at lunch, like, you're smelling them for the rest of the afternoon. Your parents can smell it on your clothes. With these vapes, I walk into the bathroom, it's like, did someone put on watermelon aftershave? Like, did someone just open a bottle of juice or something? So it's really subtle and it's weird. What scares me about vapes is that's not straight natural tobacco. That's a chemical compound that they've made and they've flavored. And then you're heating it up and you're incinerating it to make this vapor. And so that's, like, on a chemical level, that's doing something to these chemicals that you're then pulling into your lungs. And, like, we're just now getting a lot of data from what cigarettes do to the body and how they affect your lungs. And cigarettes have been around for 100 years. Yeah. So, we've been smoking tobacco for thousands of years. Vaping, it's all new. It's all new. That wasn't when I was in high school. It wasn't when I was in college. It wasn't even like the last 10 years of teaching. It's just these inventions. Yeah. So I know every kid wants to rebel. I did too. And you want to experience and you want to kind of be on the edge. But vaping, man, like, you're just hurting yourself. Like, you're not, it's not knocking you out. Like, it's putting a cloud of smoke in your body. Like, I don't know, does it make you lightheaded for a minute? Like, it just, like, the risk far outweighs the reward, that you would get from a vape. I understand drinking, like, that's going to get you drunk, and that's changes your body and makes you feel crazy. Right. And kids want to experience that and rebel. But the vapes scare me, that sort of stuff. Things that could stick with you. I mean, we may see that puts bubbles on your lungs, and when you turn 40 or 50 now, like, you now are susceptible to this cancer.
Well, one of the things that has really scared me personally away from vaping, because I do have a strong line of smoking in my family, and obviously you know about some of the stressors that I deal with personally. So me being introduced to vaping, it was always an option for me.
Like, you could have gone down that path of being a vapor. Like, you need that to relax, to take your mind off things, and then you put it as a crutch, or it does make you feel better. Right. So how were you able to not do that?
So there's a website called thetruth.com.
You see that on posters and stuff in the school.
They made a commercial. It had this monster that was made of spiky metal, and it was walking around, like, attacking this guy, and he was saying how 5% of what's in vapes is all metals.
Yeah, like particles, like from the chemicals that they break down and to burn.
And I don't know if you've heard, but there have been people who have died from these vapes.
Oh, I'm sure.
And part of it is these metals, they're cutting into their lungs and making it to where whenever you breathe, it's like asbestos. Yeah. And it just cuts into your lungs deeper and deeper.
See, it terrifies me. Like, these will be outlawed at some point, I hope. But yeah, I don't know as an adult how to tell a kid or lead a kid away from that, because they're rebelling against adults, or like, my advice is going to just lead them to try it anyway. So I don't know. and so maybe it is like going to places like truth.com, getting the statistics, showing them the data, showing them like what chemically happens inside the vape and then it going in your lungs and how your body changes. Yeah, like when I was a kid, they would do like, I don't know if it was a commercial or something, but you would see a healthy set of lungs, like from a dead body, cadaver, and then the black lungs of a smoker.
Yeah.
And just that visual, like that sticks with me forever.
Yeah.
I'm a runner and I'm an athlete and I like to be active. So smoking, and I had asthma as a kid, and it just, I don't want lung cancer. Like I feel choked enough, like to get enough air. I don't want anything messing with the lungs. So it's easy for me to stay away.
All right,
we're way over on time, but
it's all right.
You're gonna edit this. Over. You can edit this down and just get the good parts.
So we'll go ahead and go into our last topic here. Obviously, we were talking about Russian oil earlier.
Oh my gosh, we're back to the serious stuff.
What do you think about Russian troops invading NATO?
I don't think Russia will do that. It's that's a huge line in the sand. By all countries in NATO are agreeing that any of our territory represents all of our territory.
Right.
And so if Russia steps, and Kamala Harris, our vice president, just said this earlier today, just reiterated, if Russia steps on 1 square foot of NATO soil, they'll get the full force of our defenses.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I think Russia knows that, and I think that this is the issue: is NATO's reach and NATO's power. The Ukraine has been discussing joining NATO, and I think that's what may have instigated Russia to be upset right now. They want that territory back. They do not want it to be a part of this larger union. And so I think Russia is only going to move onto non-NATO territories. I think they're just reclaiming, the Ukraine's a huge country with a lot of natural resources, and I think Russia will happily, reclaim that. But I don't think they're going to step foot on NATO soil. That would be the start of World War III. I mean, is immediately what that is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how long we can stand by. I know Ukraine's not a part of NATO, but I mean, just on a human rights level, something has to happen.
Yeah,
like,
they can only get beat up for so long.
My goodness, these are people, you're looking at their faces. And what throws me is you see people getting blown up with iPhones in their hand, wearing the same clothing we do, the same styles. It's like, this is modern times, and this is, a modern first world country.
Right.
And it just makes it so real. This could be you and us. Not that any country should be bombed. I'm not saying this is okay in the Middle East and we should normalize that.
Right.
But just it's in the pictures, I see cars that I've driven, getting exploded.
Yeah.
And even the civilians driving down the street, and then
they look like our friends.
And that's scary. And at some point, I think the world's going to have to react.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what Russia's doing, and it just scares me. I don't want war. My dad's a Vietnam vet, and I am so grateful I've lived in just a really long peacetime. My childhood and adulthood have been absolutely wonderful. It's just been near misses.
So, I'll share a little bit of my personal opinion on this. I think that Russia is trying to take Ukraine to reform the USSR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of back to its original line of boundaries.
Do you think that is Putin's goal? And do you think that the people under Putin will continue that goal if Putin was to go out?
I'm always worried that what we're getting is just biased Western media because we're in the West. But what I keep seeing is, super wealthy oligarchs from Russia are super angry with Putin for starting this war. They were making money hand over fist around the world, and now everyone is back to dislike. It's the Cold War again, people are talking about Russia and using the word USSR. The Iron Curtain is coming back drawn. So it is like a rewinding of time. And I just don't understand his motivation. Like, I don't see his whole nation rallying behind him and wanting to attack Ukraine. It's not like Ukraine has bombed Moscow and it's a retaliation, it's a defense.
Right.
It's
almost an individual situation.
And it scares me. That seems like it's personal. It seems like it's, I don't know. It's not nice. It's not done with kindness or understanding.
Yeah.
When I see Putin talk and see his translations, like, he's talking about, like, I'll hit any of you.
Everybody.
I'll bomb all of you if you want to come at me sideways. And it's like, that is not how a grown, mature world leader should be reacting on the world stage. So maybe this is his last grasp of power. Maybe he's just bored. He's like, I'm on the world stage. They've written about all these great leaders before me. They did something. It's time. Right. We got military. Our tanks are rusting. Like, let's use them. Yeah. I'm bored. Let's go get Ukraine again. Like, we need to make some iPhones, and they've got resources up in those mountains that we need.
Right. All right. Well, great answers all around. It was great talking to you today. Obviously, we did have to take a break, so I hope that doesn't cut the audio out any. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast. I know it's going to be a little bit lengthier, but I hope you guys really enjoy it. Thanks for listening.